how the fuck to work this system and be able to wait to respond, more imperative for us to protect our sacral authority, because that is the motor for creation. It's for manifesting, essentially. Like, I know everyone says like, oh, manifest the throat, but I think the sacral authority, I think the sacral chakra outside of human design is the center, is the energy for creation. It's literally for creation. It's literally for manifesting. It's about bringing things to life. It's about creation. It's about the womb, which is literally about bringing life into the world. The sacral is connected to sex organs, which is connected to birthing life. There's this misconception that just because we have a defined sacral, that then we have the world figured out, or that this world has been made for generators because we have this sacral authority that keeps us moving. But that's not the case, because we get burnt out. We're just as burnt out from this hustle industry as everyone else. I don't feel like projectors and reflectors really understand generators. They don't really understand the sacral. They use the sacral, and that's what I want to talk about in this video is like why generators need to really protect their sacral energy. Is because there's projectors and reflectors that don't have that sacral energy, and within this industry, within this society, we're seen as the worker bees. A couple days ago, actually yesterday, I was taking a picture of like a flower, and I noticed a dead bee. And for me, I took that as a sign, well, fuck it, like I'm not going to waste my sacral energy on a job. For me, because the generator is the worker bee. And if you think about it, the bee itself is about abundance. It's about, like, it's literally working itself to death. And as a pure generator, it's like, stop working your sacral to death for people, for whatever, like for society, for if you're working for a company that doesn't really appreciate you. Really look into if like what you're putting in using your sacral energy for. First of all, are you waiting to respond in order to use that energy? Because if you're burnt out, you're probably not waiting to respond. Look around you, like how there are people around you that are probably using up your sacral energy and taking from you. And so maybe the reason you're so burnt out, you're so exhausted, is because there are certain people that are trying to manipulate you in order to use your power. The sacral is one of the most powerful motors in the human design anyway. So if you have the sacral motor, it is very imperative for you to start looking around your environment. And if the people, your environment, the company you're working for, if you're given a sacred space to run your sacred motor, or if people are trying to manipulate and use you in order to use that energy. Because we have the sacred motor, we're able to kind of burn ourselves out longer. And think of it, we're seen as like the worker bees, and in nature, bees will literally work themselves to death for their hive, because it's not about the individual. They will literally work themselves to death because it's about the bigger purpose. It's about this greater, it's about the hive, it's about the community, it's about the society that they're a small part of. But it's like, is that worth it? Is you working yourself, your sacral motor to death, worth the person when you're replaceable? And that's what we're dealing with as generators. We're these bees, we're these little worker bumblebees, and we have so much abundance inside us, but we're not able to see it. And it works for other people around us that don't have that motor, because then they use that motor to our advantage. They use our open, where you are, where your open centers are, that's where you are used. That's where you are manipulated. That's where you are a puppet if you're not aware of where you're open. But I wanted to bring this up because I saw a literal dead bee on a flower literally working its ass off. Seeing that was just like a symbolism to like, I'm working myself for a hive that sees me as replaceable. It is imperative, especially currently, for generators and manifesting generators and like the ones with the sacral to start understanding to protect our sacral authority, because people will try to manipulate you from your openness in order to burn yourself out to death, in order for them to use your sacral authority, to use your sacral energy, in order for them to move up. And they don't care if you burn yourself out to the point that you die, essentially. And that's where bees, what they will do, they have this essence, we have this essence. Again, like generators are seen as the bumblebees, the bees, the worker bees. That's how Ra put it for the world. And at first, like, that annoyed me, but now seeing the bumblebee, I'm like, yeah, because we have the sacral energy, it's this creation energy, so we have this abundance energy already within us, and we're just burning it out for the wrong hive. So really, you need to find your hive that will give you a balance of being able to restore your sacral, to circulate your sacral energy, not to just use it up and not give back to you, not to just use your sacral energy and then you have no way to circulate that back, because the sacral energy does need to be circulated. It's not just something, it needs to be recharged. So think about how you put boundaries on who you say yes to and who you say no to. Start waiting to respond. And then put boundaries on, like, your sacral energy, your sacral authority will say, like, no, I don't want that. But if you're pushing yourself and you feel that resistance, that's because you're using up your sacral energy for someone else's benefit and not your own. It doesn't benefit you. The sacral energy doesn't want to go that way, but if you have to like push yourself because you're like, oh, I already said yes, and that's the open will. Like when you say yes to someone because it benefits them, you don't get anything from it. Start being imperative about putting boundaries to your sacral authority. That is understanding the life-work balance. That is understanding boundary work. If you say yes to something that's not for the sacral, for that creation, for the hive already inside you, your sacral authority, your sacral will abandon you. That's the thing. Like, people will use your sacral authority, but then if you don't listen to your own sacral authority, your sacral will abandon you. Your instincts, your intuition will abandon you, will force you to, then you'll get this, you're like, why is my life falling apart? Because you weren't listening to your intuition, you weren't listening to your sacral authority. And guess what will happen? Your sacral authority will go, well, fuck it. This bitch isn't listening to me, so I'm gonna make her life a living hell. Like if your sacral authority is so burnt out, it's so pissed off, it's going to, your intuition, your gut will start like making it miserable for you until you start listening to your authority. And you'll notice when you're listening to your authority, your intuition, that's That's basically what, when you have whatever you are here, your authority is your intuition. So if you have emotional authority, that's your intuition. That's where you feel into things. You know, your intuition knows when something's correct because it's feeling into things. For me, I can't feel into things because my solar plexus is open. So that's where people fucking manipulate me. That's where I get manipulated, where I say yes to the wrong thing. So if I feel into things, I'm feeling out what other people are projecting onto me of what they want. And then I'll say yes to something, but then when I am in my own space, where I'm not projected, when I'm not energetically manipulated, then I'm like, oh fuck, I don't even want to do that. Or like you go somewhere, and if you have open solar plexus, you'll say yes to it. Then you go to the vent, and then while you're walking to the vent, you'll be like, you'll feel it. Like your sacral will be like, I don't want to be here. And that is how your sacral will abandon you. Not in that it will not react anymore, but you'll always have your intuition. You'll always have your authority. Your authority will abandon you, and that it will start triggering you, and you're like, why? Like, I'm doing all the right things. I'm like, what society, what other people base success as? Why am I miserable? Because you're not listening to your authority. You're not listening to your intuition. And look at your human design. That's where your intuition is.